Hey everybody, it's Charles from HumbleMechanic.com, and today I'm taking your questions on VR6 swaps, DSGs, buying a Tiguan, and more. This is episode 184 of the Humble Mechanic Podcast. All right, in order to get a question on a show like this, email me, charles@humblemechanic.com, right down here. Put your question right at the top, mash the enter button a couple of times, then give me the details of your question. That helps me out and helps me answer your questions so much faster. I really appreciate when you guys do that. Also, if you don't see your question on a show like this, check out the Quick Videos playlist on YouTube where I answer one question per video. All right, let's talk about the sponsor of the day, which is CRP Automotive. CRP deals in a ton of OE maintenance and repair parts, timing belt kits, suspension components, and even fluids. In fact, they make the factory DSG fluid for Volkswagen and Audi. So check them out at crpautomotive.com. And one final thing before we get rolling, if you want exclusive content from me, if you want discounts that you can't get anywhere else to places like Black Forest Industries, Eurowise, Sonic Tools, MT Knives, S&P Automotive, and more, check out the Crew Membership program. You can join by clicking the link down in the description. In addition to all that great stuff, you also get VW Audi training manuals that my colleague and I build for our classes, which I'm actually working really hard on right now, a 2-liter and a Mark 6 class. So guys, if you want to support the show and help me out and get a return on your investment, check out the Crew Membership program. And with all that wrapped up, let's get into the questions. First one comes from Emmanuel. Hey, just watched your collab video on the VR6 and you seem highly knowledgeable about VRs, so I have a couple of questions. Little background, I bought a VR6 Swap Corrado with an engine knock. Now the knocking engine is a 96 OBD1 VR out of a Passat. I've sourced and bought a 93 OBD1 VR out of a Passat, but the new engine is coil pack and the old knocking engine is distributor. So my question is, what parts are needed to be swapped over from the bad engine to the new one so it's plug and play to the harness that's in my car? Any info would be awesome, and keep up the videos. It's sick of VW enthusiast is making videos. Well, thanks for the props on the VR. That collab video is pretty old, so it's cool people are still watching that. So this is what I would do if I were gonna do this. You're gonna only really need to swap the long block. If you have a knock in the engine, it's bottom end, top end, it's internal. So take all the parts off your VR that's in your Corrado, and then when you go to swap, put all those parts back on in the engine that came out of the Passat. Now I know that's not like a real answer, so let me give you the real answer. It's just that it's so simple, right? When we don't cloud it with, oh my God, this is so much work. The other thing is you got an engine that's what, 25 years old now? You're gonna wanna go through this engine and probably do some work. You're gonna want to inspect the chains. I got a bunch of VR videos you can check out on inspecting the chains and what to look for in all that department. I highly recommend it if you don't know the history of it. I'd hate for you to do all this work, swap over all these parts, put this new to you engine in, and end up having another problem, timing chain broken or something like that. That's super common on those. So this is really not as hard as, it's a little bit scary, but it's not as hard as I think it sounds like it could be, going from a coil pack to a distributor or vice versa. The parts that are different are the parts that you're going to want to swap. In the going from distributor to coil pack or the other way around, I'll be honest, I haven't done that before on a VR. Most of my VR knowledge is the little bit newer stuff that was all coil packed. So I'm guessing that there's a couple of you watching this right now that have done this exact thing or went from the distributor to the coil pack, which I think is actually more common than going the other way. And that would, whether you could do that or not would depend on how many parts you have off the car that the engine came out of. Because if you have all the parts, you might be able to just get away with doing the whole entire coil pack swap. But if you've done this a million times and know your way front to back around a VR, post it down in the comments section and let's try and help them out. All right, next one comes from James. Love your videos. I do have a quick question if you don't mind, James. Of course I don't mind. That's what these shows are all about, all for you guys. I have a 14 Gen 3 GLI with a 6-speed DSG. My car, when off the brake, will vibrate for 1 to 2 seconds while creeping without gas pedal input. I have a mount insert so the vibration is exaggerated because of this. I notice this sensation especially in reverse, i.e. backing out of my garage without my foot on the brake. Most folks I speak with say it's normal, including my dealer. I did have a buddy drive my car. He has a 15 GTI, and he mentioned that this has never done this on his car. My car has 25K. Ooh. I haven't really ran into that issue, I don't think. The first thing I would do though, man, is I would get that insert out and see if the thing goes away, see if the vibration goes away. Those inserts can provide a lot more feedback than you really would expect, or at least what I should say is than I would expect. They can provide a pretty intense feedback depending on which one you went with, you know, the hardness level of it. There's some that are just aluminum, and I can only imagine how much feedback that would really give into the car. So I would take the mount out and I would see how the car behaved. If it still makes that vibration, then I probably would take it to the dealership, but I would take it to the dealership without that mount. Because if you have that mount, the first thing the dealership is gonna say is we're not gonna do anything until we take the mount out. And I'm not hating on the dealership for that, because you know what? That's the first thing I would do if you brought me that car. Just like I'm telling you, that's the first thing you should do. That's the first thing I would tell you if you brought your car to me. So get the mount out of the equation and go from there. There have been a couple of mech unit failures across the spectrum on the newer stuff, but they are pretty rare. There's also the potential for something like an inner axle joint making noise and causing a vibration or something like that. You know, there are a lot of things that can cause that kind of vibration, but my guess is, and it's of course just a guess without having experienced this, it's either the mech unit's failing or it's probably more likely the feedback that you're getting from that mount. If you take the mount out, or I should say when you take the mount out, do a really thorough inspection on that bushing and make sure that it's not cracked or damaged or anything like that. Because depending on how that mount installs and how it was installed, maybe that caused some damage and cracked the bushing or the bushing casing or something like that. So take it out, do a thorough inspection. If it's still doing the same thing, take it in, let them know, let them drive it, ride with them and have them experience the sensation. If you have to leave the car overnight, it sucks, but you gotta leave the car overnight. Do whatever you have to do to help them replicate the problem, and then they can go about their steps in diagnosing and fixing the problem. Because as technicians, if we can't duplicate the problem, all we're doing is shooting money at your car. And I know you're under warranty, but eventually VW gets mad at us, and if you were paying for it, you would be super pissed. All right, next one is from our friend Laura. Laura always sends good questions. Hey Charles, what's your opinion in regards to buying a used 13 Tiguan with only 13,000 miles on it? The first owner was a rental car company, and in brackets she put scary. Second owner was private. Third is currently the dealership. Would you personally purchase this car? Any anticipated costly repairs? And in general, if you were to purchase any car, would it be a VW? Hopefully you can answer that one. Let's answer the VW one first. Right now, yeah, of course I would. That's a 100% biased question though, because one, I work at a dealership, so I know I can get a discount. Two, I really like driving Volkswagens, although I would settle for like a new RS7 or something like that if, you know, that just happened to land in my driveway. And three, you know, like on the older stuff, like the GTI or my Passat, I got a crap ton of parts. A crap ton of parts for these cars. So it just makes sense for me. Well, that makes sense for me, it may not make sense for everyone. So would I buy this exact car? Without looking at it, of course, I can't say yes or no. But boy, it being a rental car first, whew, that scares me. That really scares me. I know how people treat rental cars. We get rental cars coming in all the time with really screwed up, weird problems from people doing what they do to rental cars. Also, it's what, a 13? It only has 13,000 miles. So you're in a car that's creeping on 5 years old with almost no miles. It's already been through 2 owners. I would want to know why that second owner sold it or traded it. That is a really short amount of time and a short amount of miles. So I would be extremely careful. Did I just say extremely? Extremely careful with buying this car. Take it to a dealership or a really good VW Audi independent shop. I know in your area that we've had conversations before, that's a struggle, but this is an opportunity where you take it to the dealer because you want to know all the crap that's wrong with it. You want them to find all the little nitpicky bullcrap stuff that's wrong with this car, so you know before, Laura, before you buy the car. As far as anticipated costly repairs, I did a video on top 5 Tiguan failures. I'll be sure to link that down in the description. Really recommend you check that out. Also, the top 5 failures of the CCTA, so this is the 2-liter turbo TSI engine. Watch those 2 videos. That'll give you almost all of the really common or costly problems. But you know, the fact that this was a rental car, I'm sure there's plenty of people that have bought rental cars and they've been perfectly fine. But boy, does that fire up a red flag really quick. You know, 5-year-old almost car, very low mileage. I mean, stupid low mileage. That also kind of scares me a little bit too, because was it maintained annually like it should have been? Or was it maintained based on mileage? So if it was maintained based on mileage, it's had 1 oil change, and that ain't enough to get it. So Laura, I don't know. My gut says no, but if your heart's set on it, I don't want to discourage you. Just take it, get it inspected, make sure that if there's anything wrong with it, you get that taken care of, or more importantly, have the rental car take care of it for you. And this is a great opportunity to buy an extended warranty. Only buy an extended warranty that covers everything with as low of deductible as possible. Most of the time, these things pay for itself, or it's cheap insurance to never have a problem with your car. All right, got time for one more. This one comes from Anthony. I have a 14 Jetta 1.8 turbo automatic, and I want to learn how to do an engine intake decarb. How to Automotive told me to let you know. He sent me to learn about the issue. I flushed and refilled my transmission a few weeks ago. It was awesome. I want to learn so much more. Well, Anthony, you know what, dude? Props to you for taking the initiative to learn how to do stuff on your car. That's awesome. I love that. Love it, love it, love it. And How to Automotive, thank you so much for sending Anthony this way. I really appreciate you for that. So how do we do an intake decarb? Well, there's countless ways, right? Tons of ways. So I'm gonna give you a couple of things you can do. You are saying an intake decarb, so to me that means it's a manual cleaning. That means the intake manifold is coming off, and we're going in and we're scraping, right? We're scraping and scraping the backs of the intake valves. That's one way, and that's actually pretty simple. And the manifolds on these 1.8s are super easy. The intake manifold comes off. It's very similar to the the TSIs, like the CCTAs, but it is a little bit different, and I think it's, you know, maybe a little bit easier, maybe about the same. I have a really good rhythm for the CCTA, so that being a little different threw me off a bit. But you don't have to mess with the fuel rail, which is really, really cool. So we're going to take the intake manifold off. We're going to make sure that the valves are closed for the cylinder that we're doing. We may stuff some rags in the other cylinders so that we don't get any junk or chemicals in it. What works really well is to take like a plastic bone tool or something you don't mind ruining, honestly, and scraping any big pieces of carbon, vacuuming it out with a shop vac, and then taking a carbon cleaner like Seafoam works fine, or actual carb cleaner works really well too. Filling the cylinders up. Again, the cylinder or the valves are closed. The valves are closed. The valves are closed. Don't do this with the valves open. The valves are closed. And just manually cleaning it. You want to be careful not to gouge or scratch anything up. A trick that a buddy of mine taught me is to take a wad of zip ties, like a fat wad of zip ties, zip tie them together so that it's bound, and then use that and kind of, you know, do this number here to clean the valves. And that does work pretty well. It stinks, so well-ventilated area, your face is right in the, you know, engine, puffing all that stuff. I don't love doing it that way. I really prefer the media blasting way, which is great, smells better. It does make a bit more of a mess, but I think it does a more thorough, better job and gets that junk out of there. That's not for the average DIYer, because you're gonna have to buy equipment and stuff like that. So you're probably gonna end up with the carbon cleaning chemical method or the zip tie method. I like to get as much of the chunks out as I can before I hit it with chemicals, because once you hit it with chemicals, you're making a mess. Then there's the other way, the way that's maybe not so invasive. This is the way where we're using something up in the throttle body or through the intake air temp sensor. That works all right. You know, fuel treatments in the tank, that's not going to help too much with the intake valves, but it will help with the injectors. That's going to be all right. You're not going to go from having super saturated carbon buildup to having clean backs of valves. That stuff's more of a preventative. You do it, every 6 months instead of when you're developing cold start misfires. So it's not hard. The keys are make sure the intake valves are closed when you're cleaning them. You don't want to fill the cylinders up with carbon cleaner. So I always set everything to top dead center compression. I know it wastes time, I guess, but it's worth it to me to make 100% sure that the valves are closed when I'm doing the decarb. But the zip tie method, I think, if you're going in and you're doing manual, Anthony, that's probably going to be the best damn way to do it. I just had to reach over and see if I had some zip ties. So this would be similar like this. You take a zip tie around it so it's tight, and then you would just kind of work that in to the backs of the intake valves. And that's nice because it won't scratch or gouge up your cylinder head or anything like that. So that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the zip tie method. All right, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up there. Questions, comments, you know what to do. Hey, if you like this video, throw it a thumbs up on YouTube. I do always appreciate that. You can also subscribe right here on YouTube. Don't forget to ding the bell, or over on the blog at humblemechanic.com. Don't forget, if you want exclusive videos from me, discounts you can't get anywhere else, VW Audi training books that I build, check out the Crew Membership program. It's designed so that you can make your money back, and that is on purpose because I want you guys to get more money back from discounts than you spend to help support me and the work I do, and essentially help me keep these, including that one back there, these lights on. Hey, one other way, if you want to support the show, use my Amazon affiliate link down in the description. Click that, you go to Amazon, do all your shopping, you don't have to spend any more money. I just get a little bit of a bump, a little spliff, if you will, off of that sale. Again, it costs you nothing, so it's a cool free way to help me out if you don't think that the Crew Membership program is for you. You can also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course on Snapchat. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.